and welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. Always happy to welcome Kathy Jennings from the YWCA. Good morning.
Good morning, Susie, and thank you for having me here.
Well, it's great to have you here, Kathy. YWCA, and we're talking about of Stark County, or how far is your reach?
We're YWCA of Canton, but many of the services that we provide at our downtown central location are through people throughout Stark County.
Okay, so you do stretch. And I think what's always surprising and interesting is how many services and what all you do. We're talking about the Young Women's Christian Association, which started way back, really for what purpose back in the day?
Back in the day, the YWCA began in Canton as a place for young women to come to and to learn the skills back over 100 years ago, that at that point in time, to get young ladies ready for life. And I've been very fortunate. I've been very blessed. I've been at the Y now for 27 years. And I've watched just in that period of time that the YWCA is flexible in that with the services that we provide to meet the needs of the community. And so we went from teaching young ladies how to sew in a safe place to live for their first job away from home in downtown Canton to now providing housing and education and job preparedness so that people may be successful in life just the same, but we're really centering on those basic skills of life now.
Would you say that kind of adaptability is what it takes to have that kind of longevity of over 100 years?
Yes. I would say for us being especially downtown, that we have had to make that shift. And when we saw it even 20-some years ago, when our homeless shelter, which is one of our services, came about, it was dormitory-style living prior to that and in the 1950s. And it was, as I said, for young ladies, and they worked downtown, and it was safe, and they had social events there. And now in those same rooms, we are keeping women and children off the street.
Yes.
And we are giving them that chance then to secure permanent housing, and so that where they are safe and to get that support that they need.
You kind of morphed to meet those needs as you were seeing the needs. What kind of need is it? And I know that's not something that seems to go away. Well, Jesus said, the poor you will always have with you. He was not kidding.
Right.
But we're not seeing that need go away, even when these are relatively strong economic times. But you say what?
What we say is that the people that we serve, which what I think people need to understand is the face of homelessness is not one thing. It can be because someone actually does lose their home because of economics, job changes and education changes, and also medical bills.
Yes.
So many of our people live now from paycheck to paycheck. And we have so many coming through that have never been in the system before, that are now because of an illness or because of a medical need or because, unfortunately, a split in a marriage.
Yes.
Or someone passing away. We have seen such, unfortunately, an increase in need because of the problems with the drugs.
Yes.
And women fleeing to be safe. And so when that happens, you have people that really need your support. And we saw in 2017, 381 women.
Say that number again.
381 women and children come through our doors just in 2017.
Oh, my gosh.
That we provided shelter to, that would have literally been on the street if we wouldn't have been there. And out of that number, 94 were children under the age of 5. So
Heartbreaking.
we know we need to be there. And we know we need to continue to be creative in the services that we provide because the women and families can only be there for 90 days.
Well, and I want to circle back a little bit to something that you said, that these families are living paycheck to paycheck. There is a paycheck in the mix. These are not people who are not necessarily not working. These are not people who are street people who can't hold down a job. These are people really trying to make ends meet that really need help.
And that's what we see. We see a mix. We see people that also not only with the paychecks, and unfortunately, so many of the people that we see come in have that they're in what we kind of call throwaway jobs, where if your child gets sick and you miss too many days' work, you can be replaced.
Wow.
We have a lot of people then that seek to get back to making a paycheck will go through temporary services. And unfortunately, again, they may get right to that spot where they can be hired permanently. And one little thing happen, a car break down, and it's, do I feed the kids, pay the rent, or fix the car? And then you can't get to work. So that cycle is difficult without some support and some help. The other population that we are seeing is people that are coming to us that may have gotten away, I just have fallen through the cracks for years, and now we're seeing, and it's been untreated mental health.
Yes.
And so, and again, you cannot, there's no blame laid there.
No, it's an illness.
Yes. And so what happens is getting people in, and it may take 2 or 3 times through our shelter because you have to really build a relationship. And in 90 days with someone that may have ongoing mental health issues that have never been addressed, it's a challenge.
What do they do, Kathy, if they stay there 90 days, then they need to go find some other way to have some type of shelter, and then are they able to come back? At what point are they able to come back for another 90 days?
Well, what has happened is in Stark County, we do have the homeless network. And so what that is everything comes through central intake through our homeless hotline. Okay. And we have that anybody that comes in through there, they go on a list. And our people are in on a wonderful computer system.
Okay.
It's a database every day that everyone that provides any type of housing puts their beds in. And so then the navigation system, the homeless navigation system, can go ahead and then we'll get calls. And so if someone we're getting close to our 90 days. And we do have case managers that work with everyone from the time they come through their doors. They work with other housers. They work with trying to secure extra funds for them. They work trying to secure with landlords and lists of where housing is. And then what happens is if they do get to that 90 days, because we have some that are pretty hard to house.
Yes.
And so when that does happen, we will work with the homeless navigation system, and they may go to another shelter because there is one in Alliance and one in Massillon for women. And then they may go there, or if they do find a place that maybe they can bunk for at least 10 days, then we can bring them back in. And as long as there's been no issues, we can bring them back in. And we're seeing that work for those especially that may have more serious issues. And when that happens, then we can continue to build that relationship and those support services.
I don't want to sound jaded. I know they do the count during the coldest night of the year.
Yes, they do.
A lot less money available that way. But because people tend to find a place to stay when it's that cold. But do we have a sense of how many people are homeless in our area?
Right now, that was just completed the end of January, and we don't have any figures yet. But we know Stark County has been able to steadily bring those figures down some.
That's
at
wonderful.
At least that we don't have those on the street.
Yes.
And that's the important part is that we are getting people off the street, that they aren't staying on the street. And people are streamlining, and they are also being flexible with people and providing services. And this community is really working together, support services to get people where before they always had to go to them. And that could be an issue. Where now we have agencies that will come in and meet with our homeless right at the Y. So they're not spending money. They're not using bus passes to get there. Now the services are more or less coming to them.
It's really a great example of how different agencies and organizations can cooperate together with a common goal. And we are doing better. That's really good to hear.
Yes, it is.
Let's talk about the children, because when you talk about homeless children, these are the least of these. These are the victims who, by no action of their own, are finding themselves without a home. Tell me that they're not sleeping on the streets. Please.
Well, I wish I could. This county addresses that very, very quickly and very, very is very responsive to that.
Good.
However, and especially in the winter, we do have an overflow shelter.
Oh, good.
Where someone can go if all the shelter beds are full. But unfortunately, the need is still out there. And you may have women, and I get this, who are afraid to report that they are literally on the street or that they are sleeping in a car with their children because they're afraid then that Job and Family Services will step in and their kids will be gone. And so that's something that we're a real good liaison with is making people understand that, you know what, if you come into a homeless shelter, you're more apt you're going to get to keep your kids as opposed to because so it does happen very rarely anymore in Stark County, but it does happen. But those are the ones that can go into the overflow shelter. And everyone, again, has worked very, very hard. We have a team from a local church that comes in because as we turn rooms over and people were moving out, we only had one housekeeper on staff, and so to get the rooms cleaned and ready to go, it would take time.
Wow,
and you did not want to lose more than at least 24 hours. And we have a team that as soon, if we get a group of rooms empty and it's going to take her a little bit to get them done, they come in and that group of volunteers come in and they clean those rooms spick and span.
That is awesome.
So it's amazing.
Yeah,
yes.
That's awesome. They can flip them and get more so that more people have a place to be. I know the goal is to get them into permanent homes of their own. What kinds of programs do you have to make that happen?
Well, we work very closely with a network of landlords in town that when we call, and they may look and see, they've got some evictions and they've got this or that. But when we have one of our programs that we have, which is called actually Rapid Rehousing, where we can assist with some rent, and our case managers work with these families up to a year, and they go out to the homes, and they're a great liaison with the landlords. So what happens is that they're more willing to work with the Y, because they know we're going to be there to assist. We also, of course, work closely with Metropolitan Housing, and for those that qualify, our permanent supportive housing. The Y actually has now 100 units ourselves in 3 different locations for permanent supportive housing. And basically what that is someone was homeless, they have a verified diagnosed disability, and they can move in, and that can be their forever home.
Awesome.
And we work closely with Stark Metropolitan Housing too in that. So
it's incredible what all you do. We're visiting with Kathy Jennings from the YWCA of Stark County, and we will be back with Kathy after these words. You're listening to Our Community.